So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News and Shots. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs, important news items in that day's current affairs, in a very short span of time within 20 minutes. Now, the topics that we are going to be covering in this particular lecture, these topics are from September 14th, 2024's newspaper, all right? And these topics are as following. So, let's take a look at the topics of the day. So in total, we'll be focusing on four topics which are important from the perspective of civil services examination. Number one topic is a recent announcement made by OpenAI. OpenAI is a company that made ChatGPT. You all remember about ChatGPT, right? Most of you might be using it also. So OpenAI has released another AI model called 01 model or O1 model. Now, this is a very advanced model of artificial intelligence, so we'll be talking about this. Then, recently, a particular astronaut from NASA has been stranded on International Space Station because the rocket that would take him back was leaking helium. Now, in the past, Chandrayaan 2 mission was also delayed because of helium leakage, and various other rockets have been delayed or their launches have been delayed because of helium leakage. So, we'll be talking about the usage of helium in rockets, launch vehicles. Why is helium used? What sort of purpose does it solve? We'll talk about this. Then we'll talk about topic number 3, which is renaming of Port Blair, the capital of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, renaming of Port Blair to Sri Vijayapuram. This was recently announced by Home Ministry, so we'll talk about this. And then in the end, we'll talk about a climate-related disaster, a natural disaster called Typhoon Yagi, which has been wreaking havoc in Southeast Asia. It is one of the most powerful, not one of the, it is the most powerful tropical cyclone that Asia has ever seen. Okay, so we'll talk about this. Okay, so we'll be focusing our attention on these four topics only. Let's start with topic number 1, which is OpenAI's O1 model or 01 model. So OpenAI has dropped its latest AI model, which is part of its secretive Project Strawberry. Now, look, in the past, it was revealed that OpenAI is working on a project called Project Strawberry. Now, this project is actually, or basically, is working on developing extremely advanced AI models. Now, these AI models would be so advanced that we can call them artificial general intelligence. Artificial general intelligence, they would replace human brain. Okay, so under this Project Strawberry, various AI models would be developed. The first model that has been developed under Project Strawberry is O1 model. Okay, the new OpenAI O1 is the first in the planned series of reasoning models that have been designed to solve more complex tasks and problems in science, coding, and maths. So basically, this O1 model would replace the jobs of scientists and researchers. So it would perform tasks which are generally performed by scientific researchers. Okay. Now, how does this OpenAI model work? So, according to OpenAI, the new model is designed to think more carefully about queries before answering, much similar to how humans do while solving complex problems. Now, as per OpenAI's tests, okay, OpenAI said that the next model update in the series can perform as well as PhD students. PhD students of physics, chemistry, biology, maths, coding. So, as good as PhD students, the performance level of PhD students would be matched by this O1 model. Okay, now that's an extreme advancement. However, OpenAI has said that the O1 model is an early version and is yet to be equipped with handy features such as browsing the web or managing files or images. But the next version would be very advanced. Okay, this is just the preliminary version. All right. Now, when this model was announced, various AI experts talked about the safety of using this AI model. Okay, so OpenAI basically made an announcement that this particular model is quite safe. They have taken care of all the important safety protocols while developing this model. What has OpenAI said? OpenAI said that to make these models safe to use, they have come up with a new way of training. So, as you know, AI models are trained before they are put to use. Okay, so their training methods have been changed so that they are more safe to use for humans. OpenAI has also improved its safety efforts by working closely with various governments, especially USA and UK governments, plus the AI safety teams of USA and UK. All right. This includes running through various tests, having experts try to spot weakness in what is called red teaming. You need to be familiar with this term red teaming. Every AI model is put through this process of red teaming, only then it is released in the public. Now, what is red teaming? Basically, a group of experts actually try to attack these AI models to spot where it is faulty. Okay. So experts actually look for loopholes in the AI models. This is known as red teaming. Okay. So these are the safety protocols that have been taken care of by OpenAI. Now, various critics of AI have pointed out that this particular model of AI, 01 model or O1 model, it will replace the top-notch jobs of scientists. Okay, what sort of jobs it's going to replace? So since the new model can solve complex problems, it may impact the jobs that could include tasks such as software development, data analysis, coding, mathematical modeling, basically the jobs of PhD students, researchers, top level white collar jobs, all these things. Now, if the existing workers, existing scientists, existing PhD students want to save their jobs, well, they need to acquire other sets of skills along with their scientific skills. They need to acquire the skill of creativity, critical analysis, and problem solving, which current AI models cannot replicate. Okay. Plus, it's not just going to replace jobs, also, it is going to assist PhD students and researchers also. It may also lead to new jobs such as AI safety jobs, ethical use of AI jobs, AI maintenance jobs. So it's not just going to replace all the jobs. In some places it might be used as assistant to research scholars. In some places it might create new jobs like the jobs of AI safety experts, ethical use of AI maintenance experts, and all that. Okay, so this is the entire news regarding OpenAI's 01 model. Okay, now topic number 1 is over. Let's straight away jump to topic number 2, which is use of helium in rockets. So, two NASA astronauts aboard Boeing Starliner will stay on International Space Station for months because of a faulty propulsion system whose problems included helium leaks. So, the rocket that took these two NASA astronauts on International Space Station is leaking helium. In the past, also, SpaceX Polaris Dawn mission, which finally launched on Tuesday, was delayed. Yesterday, we talked about Polaris Dawn mission, right? So, Polaris Dawn mission was also delayed because of helium leakage. In the past, Chandrayaan 2 and European Space Agency's Ariane 5 rockets have been delayed because of helium leakage. So, the problem is, what is this helium? Why is it used in rockets for launches? Okay, so what is so special about helium that it is used in rockets? So basically, helium is inert. By inert, we mean that it does not react with other chemicals. It does not. Okay. Plus, its atomic number is 2 and mass number is 4. Right? So it is the lightest element in the universe after hydrogen. Hydrogen is the lightest element, helium is the second lightest element. Plus, helium has a very low boiling point. And this is what makes it useful. It has a very low boiling point. That's why it remains in its gaseous state at very low temperatures also. In super cold environment also, it doesn't liquefy, it stays in its gaseous state because it has a very low boiling point. Now, this is a very useful property. Why? Because helium is used in the fuel chamber. So what happens is that helium is used in a fuel chamber. In the fuel chamber, there is fuel which burns up. There is an oxidizer which helps burning up that fuel. And the rest of the space in the fuel chamber is filled up with helium. Helium helps to pressurize the fuel tank. It helps to create pressure in the fuel chamber so that this fuel gets burned. All right. Because it is very, very light, it does not add any weight to the aircraft or the launch vehicle. Because it has a very low boiling point, it is used as a gas to fill up space in fuel tanks because the fuel tanks of rockets have very low temperatures. Any other gas would liquefy, but helium doesn't. All right, and because this is very important. One is it is very light, it has very low boiling point. The other important feature is it is inert, and because of its inert nature, it does not react with the fuel or the oxidizer. So it is the best candidate for usage in fuel tanks, and that is why helium is used everywhere in all launch vehicles. Clear? Make sense? Now, because helium is light and it has very small molecules, it also passes through small spaces in the fuel tank. Right? It is very difficult to contain it. And because it passes through small spaces, it leads to helium leakages. All right. So that was the issue that happened in Boeing Starliner, happened in Polaris Dawn mission, happened in Chandrayaan 2, Aryan 5. All right. So these are the important properties of helium that you need to remember. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to third news item, which is very important. Port Blair has been renamed Sri Vijayapuram. Now, let's take a look at what is in the news. Then we'll talk about why Port Blair was renamed and what is so special about this name, Sri Vijayapuram. Why is Port Blair now called Sri Vijayapuram? Okay. So, look, first of all, Port Blair is the capital city of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. And Union Home Minister Amit Shah announced on Twitter, which is now called X, that it has been renamed to Sri Vijayapuram. He said that this decision was inspired by Prime Minister Modi call to free the nation from colonial imprints. You see, this name Port Blair was given by the British when they ruled over us. Now they no longer rule over us. We can change the names of places to something more Indian, right? And that is why we have called it Sri Vijayapuram. Now, you need some background or some historical background of Port Blair, right? So first, let's take a look at the historical background of Port Blair. So the city of Port Blair is the entry point of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and it was named after Archibald Blair. That is why it is called Port Blair, because it was named after Archibald Blair. He was a naval surveyor and lieutenant in the Bombay Marine. Now, why this place is named after Archibald Blair? Because Blair was the first British officer, or that time officer of the East India Company. So he was the first British officer or East India Company officer to carry out a thorough survey of Andaman Nicobar Islands. All right. Then East India Company, basically EIC, colonized Port Blair in 1789. First survey was undertaken by Archibald Blair. Then, because there was not much human presence, so British decided to colonize this place in 1789. Initially, the British government established the place as a headquarters of Andaman and Nicobar Islands, basically to protect its naval ships from Malay pirates and to create a place of refuge for injured soldiers in the navy, right? But later, this place was made a penal colony. Now, what do we mean by penal colony? All the criminals, all the major criminals, freedom fighters who were put in jail. Now, those criminals or freedom fighters who were considered very serious by the British government, they were actually placed in a cellular jail in Port Blair, where severe punishments were given to them. Now, this cellular jail in Port Blair is very famous. It was popularly known as Kalapani. So, anyone who was sent to Port Blair in cellular jail, they would say that he has gotten Kalapani ki saza, right? It was a very, very brutal prison. Even V.D. Savarkar was here. Okay, so the huge cellular jail, now it's not a jail, it's a museum in Port Blair, was also popularly known as Kalapani. So this is the historical background of Port Blair. Now, why is it named Sri Vijayapuram? What is its connection with Vijayapuram? It has a strong connection with Cholas, the mighty naval power of India from Tamil Nadu. So, some historical records suggest that the Andaman Islands were used as a strategic naval base by the 11th century Chola Emperor Rajendra I to carry out attack on Sri Vijaya. Now, Sri Vijaya was the ancient name for Indonesia. Indonesia was called Sri Vijaya back then. And Rajendra I, the Chola Emperor, used Port Blair as a naval base to conduct strikes or attacks on Indonesia. As per an inscription found at Thanjavur, Tamil Nadu, dated 1050 AD or CE, the Cholas referred to the island as Ma Nakkavaram. Okay, so the Cholas used to call Andaman and Nicobar Islands as Nakkavaram land, which means open, naked land. And from Nakkavaram only the word Nicobar has come, which was used by the British. According to inscriptional records, after attacking Sri Vijaya, Rajendra I captured King Sangrama Tungavaram and looted a large amount of treasures from the Buddhist empire. Remember, Indonesia or Sri Vijaya or Vijaya was basically a land of, the monarchs over there followed Buddhism, patronized Buddhism. They actually looted a large amount of wealth from the Buddhist empire, including the Vidyadhara Torana, large gateway of a stupa in Indonesia. Okay, the war gate called Sri Vijaya. Here, and that is why it is known as Sri Vijayapuram now, because it was used to capture Sri Vijaya kingdom. Okay, and in the end, we'll talk about Typhoon Yagi. Now look, typhoon is another name for tropical cyclones, right? There is another name for tropical cyclones. We call them typhoons, we call them tropical cyclones, we call them hurricanes. And we have studied about hurricanes, which are a form of tropical cyclones, when we studied Hurricane Beryl that actually destroyed the Caribbean islands. They're also called Willy Willies in Australia. Right? So these are the four names of tropical cyclones. Now, why are we talking about Typhoon Yagi? Because Typhoon Yagi, the strongest ever tropical cyclone in Asia, has struck Southeast Asia. Okay? The strongest tropical cyclone Asia has seen this year, and the second most powerful storm in the world so far after Hurricane Beryl that happened in Caribbean islands. Typhoon Yagi has severely impacted multiple countries. So it has impacted Philippines, China, Laos, Myanmar, Thailand. But the country that has been the most devastated by Typhoon Yagi is Vietnam. More than 200 lives have been lost in Vietnam. Okay. Now, I won't talk about tropical cyclones, I mean how they are formed or not, because we have already discussed about tropical cyclones, their formation, the conditions of their formation when we discussed Hurricane Beryl. Okay. I'll be talking about the categorization of these tropical cyclone storms. So the category, it is every tropical cyclone is categorized from category 1 to 5. Okay, and this categorization is based on the wind speed in these tropical cyclones. And this wind speed is measured as per Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. Okay, now as per Saffir, remember this name, Saffir-Simpson hurricane wind scale. Category 1 cyclones have 119 to 153 km per hour wind speeds, but Category 5 have more than 252 km per hour wind speeds. Storms that reach Category 3 or higher are considered quite devastating. Okay? Now remember, Typhoon Yagi was categorized as Category 5. It was very strong. Okay? Initially, Typhoon Yagi started at Western Philippine Sea, but then it made landfall and it got weakened. But because the waters in South China Sea are unusually warm because of global warming, this cyclone actually got rekindled, okay, and became a Category 3 storm. Then eventually it became a Category 5 storm and devastated all the countries or most of the countries lying at the coast of South China Sea. Now, there is a consensus that with the rising global temperatures, tropical cyclones are becoming more intense because this Typhoon Yagi would have subsided on September 1st when it made landfall in the Philippines. But it got rekindled because the South China Sea was unusually warm, and that is because of global warming. Now, this could be happening primarily because warmer surface temperatures of the ocean. Global mean surface temperatures have gone up close to 0.9 degrees Celsius since 1850 and 0.6 degrees Celsius in the last 4 decades. So ocean surface temperatures are becoming unusually warm, and because of that, cyclones are becoming more intense. All right. Now, with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and I'm sure it added value to your preparation, though it would add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. So, with the hope that you're consistent and regular, I'll be signing off now, and we'll see you in the next lecture covering next day's current affairs. By the way, before signing off, let me tell you that if you want to download the PDF file for this lecture, the entire notes for this lecture, okay, in a very detailed form so that you can revise and consolidate the current affairs discussed in this lecture, well, you should go to our Telegram channel. You will find a PDF file on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section below. Okay, so you'll find a link to our Telegram channel. Go to that Telegram channel and download the PDF for September 14, 2024's current affairs. All right, on that note, I'll be signing off. Thank you so much, everyone.